go ahead and get started and review of the December minutes.
I have one change. It says that I seconded the meeting minutes, but I was coming back home from my son's on that day, so I don't think I was here, so I have a little difficulty understanding how I seconded it, but outside of that.
On
Voice projection?
Yeah, that's it.
for the November meeting.
Yeah, right here. Well, actually, it was the December meeting,
December meeting.
which was December 1st, which was at the end of the Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it
will-
does say you weren't there.
It does say, yeah. I was driving home. So I don't know who made the motion, but I don't know who seconded it. I didn't. Doesn't matter, I can catch that later.
Is there a motion to accept? Or any other discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Brian.
I should be second. Meeting minutes, I wasn't there.
Yes, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Were you abstaining, Dick?
I wasn't here. I don't think it would be fair, although I'll say the minutes look great.
Yes, I thought so.
Okay. Is there anything for Prospect Farm?
I spoke with Michael. He's still on track to do the pruning. He plans to write up a contract and email us the contract, with the information that we've discussed about how they're going to proceed. Sounds like he'd like to get up there towards the end of February with the snowmobile, bring up his supplies, and then spend days up there pruning. One way I think we talked about to offset some of the potential cost is to assist with either moving a brush, a plan to burn brush, however we do. So anything we can minimize his handling of brush would be cost effective. We talked about liming the trees, and that's another thing that he said he doesn't need to be the one liming. He can just make the recommendation of how much per tree we can do the liming, or we could have volunteers do.
Do you lime in the winter?
Excuse
Do
me?
you lime in the winter? Or you
No,
wait?
that wasn't,
Yeah.
we didn't discuss that.
Okay.
Guess you could, but
That'd be interesting.
yeah, I mean, hauling it up there.
Mm.
And yeah, same thing, multi-year process. He wasn't exactly sure how he would go through the funds, but some of it could be weather related. They have a great winter, and it makes more sense to, get more done this year than he thought he's going to get done, and then that could happen. So very flexible.
Does he need someone up there to assist with moving brush when he does it, or it just needs to
Not
happen
initially.
afterwards?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It's tough
just,
to do in February if there's snow.
yeah, well, I mean, you just don't know, I mean, that's the whole, it could be light powder and wonderful, or it could be icy crust and horrible, or,
Can you get him to coordinate with Jackson Ski too?
I, yeah, I
Yeah,
told him
yeah.
that's the,
In fact, they might be able to move some of his stuff up when they're grooming
Yeah,
if he's got a bunch of stuff.
I mentioned that as well.
Because that's very popular, particularly as you get to the back half of the.
Mhm. That was really it.
Great. Anyone else?
A lot of people up there skiing now.
Yeah, I've had some very nice
Both of
ski
you were
days up
guilty, I
there.
think.
Yeah.
I think I've seen both of you up there.
Yeah, it was a great day. All right, Jackson Falls and Connors are here, I'm assuming. to
Yes.
discuss this. But I guess,
Well, let me introduce ourselves, in case some don't recognize us or know us. I'm Tom Connors, this is my wife Jackie Connors. We are the sole residential abutters to the Valley Cross Bridge Replacement Project. And 8 trees were cut as part of that project to make way for the wider wing walls and the movement of construction equipment to do the replacement. And the 8 trees were supposed to be replaced.
eight,
Correct?
Eight.
Eight.
7 on the north side of Valley Cross, sort of on our property, and 1 on the other side,
Town property.
town property, that
The big one that
big.
we all hated
big-
to see cut down.
Yeah.
It may
Yes.
not be town
Yeah.
property.
Well, whatever.
Whatever it is.
Whoever owns it, it was cut down.
So 8 trees were cut down, 8 trees were supposed to be replaced. Apparently, that was not actually as part of the contractor's responsibility. And speaking with the town's project representative, he said that the Conservation Commission was going to be responsible for it.
well,
That's interesting.
Way to push that around.
Out of curiosity, who was this that said the
The,
concept?
the town engineer,
Burr.
Burr,
Burr Phillips.
Burr Phillips.
yeah,
Have we asked for money yet from the town?
yeah. He did copy the select woman. Who was it?
Barbara.
Barbara. So she's aware of this. I assume that he spoke with her before he sent the email.
yeah, and I have not, so in the email that he sent on the 30th, I've not heard back from Barbara or
Mhm.
Burr regarding that, but we were never consulted on that,
Mhm.
and the only conversation I've had is with you when we met.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Um,
I had mentioned that the trees were going to be replaced, and I asked if the Conservation Commission wanted to have any input in where they would be and what kind they would be.
Right. So, and I think when we had talked, and I mentioned that we were undergoing a study by Headwaters Hydrology, and so that's fitting into our larger erosion control plan. So we will be planting trees at Jackson Falls, but we don't have any specific plans, and we were not anticipating having your trees be part of that project. So,
Or right, planting on private property.
right. So that's, and I guess when we had discussed it, is that the builders were offering a credit, or was I wrong in thinking that for that as a
Well,
replacement?
we didn't have the contract with the builders of the bridge. The town did.
Okay.
And the town engineer was the one that represented that to me,
Okay.
that there'd be a 1-to-1 replacement. So I guess the question is, what are the mechanisms in the town for that to get done? And right now it's pointing at this commission.
Was there any written statement of the replacement?
He did send me a letter. I'd have to go back and actually look at it to see if the tree replacement was in that. Remember the agreement that we had with the town for the, what's the right word,
For the
Easement.
easement?
for the easement?
I think I have seen
Goes
one.
back
Yeah.
like 3 years,
Yeah, could be.
That
so,
would be the same one that Jackson Ski Touring had, well, the CHP owner signed off on. Just for your information, when CHP transferred over the ownership of the golf course, and I understand you have a separate golf course easement as
mhm.
well.
Well, no, the land, part of the land on the golf course is ours.
Right.
And we give them the right for exclusive use for summer golf.
And I'm very familiar with that because, and I'm on the Ski Touring Foundation board, but CHP then transferred over the ownership of the golf course lands to the Jackson Ski Touring Foundation. However,
What is CHP?
that was the original company that owned Eagle, did a
Okay.
lot of the development,
Mhm.
and the only remnant that they really had left was the golf course.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the golf course was, and now the second heirs had become owners of the golf course.
Mhm.
But it's encumbered by the same as yours, because I've looked at these, the
Mhm.
permanent
Mhm.
easement that the golf course always has right
Mhm.
there. So, and it turns out in that land transaction, and Jackson Ski Touring didn't even know this, but there's a tiny sliver of land on the other side of the road from yours that's
Mhm.
actually owned by the Ski Touring Foundation.
Mhm.
And it is an artifact from the old boundaries from the properties across the road.
Yes. Mhm.
So that tiny sliver on the other side, which may or may not include where the single tree is on the other side, may be on town property, and it may be on that tiny sliver that's owned by the Ski Touring Foundation.
All I know is that 7 on our property were taken down
Yeah,
and 1 across the way. There may be others.
yeah, so I just wanted
Mhm.
for you to understand the
Mhm.
ownership,
Mhm.
and the Ski Touring Foundation has not had an opportunity yet, just because it's so busy with other stuff, and the government shutdown affected their operations here, getting ready for the winter. Hasn't quite decided once, because they just learned about this when one of the heirs of CHP said, "Oh, by the way, you also own this now."
Yeah.
We're like, "Oh, we do." So we had this funky little strip, and what it's going to do with it hasn't been decided, but I'm sure Jackson is not going to, the Ski Touring is not going to hold on to it. It'll probably do something with the town,
Mhm.
because it really is an integral part of that. It has nothing to
Right.
do with the Ski Touring. So your butter right now on the other side of the road is actually the Ski Touring Foundation,
Mhm.
not the town of Jackson.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the one that was taken down was on the other side of Valley Cross.
The hemlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Mhm.
That's what he's
Oh, that
talking
little,
about.
that little
That's
sliver.
what he's talking
Ah,
about.
okay.
It starts
Yeah.
at the bridge, and it's a little, and I don't have the
Yeah.
map here, it's a little tiny sliver that comes in, and as I say, it was actually part of a parcel that was owned
Yeah.
historically on the other side of the road,
Mhm.
when all
Oh,
of that
okay.
was subdivided. So that tiny
Yeah.
piece that's your butter on the other side of Valley Cross is actually Jackson Ski Touring, it's not the town.
That's interesting because I didn't see them in any communications.
The
for
communications
butters.
you would have seen is with
Oh, maybe they didn't know.
CHP, because they signed the same thing as you did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is when CHP still retained ownership to allow the bridge construction.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the Ski Touring just inherited that mess. It didn't even know it had it at that time, yes.
So if there's any words in any contract
Mhm.
that would facilitate replanting trees, the selectmen would actually be the enforcers. The
Mhm.
Conservation Commission can talk with you, we can agree with you,
Mhm.
we can say, yes, I think they put a hemlock there and a maple there and an oak over here.
Mhm.
But the selectmen are the people that actually would enforce whatever was written.
Mhm. So our next stop should probably be Barbara.
Or
Yeah, and I don't.
Meeting with Barbara
Yeah.
and
And
her.
I did look at the easement that CHP has signed, which I would assume was similar to yours, but I may be wrong. I'd have to look at it again. I don't remember anything about trees, but it's been quite a while since I looked at it, so I don't know for certain.
No, it may not be in the easement. There was a separate letter sent from the selectmen not part of the easement, but
Okay,
an understanding. Because part of the easement said that I could not plant anything, trees, shrubs,
Yeah.
put buildings on it. And that was fine. I wanted to accommodate the town and the bridge, I was all for that. But my feedback to Burr, and eventually to Barbara, was that, okay, if the town wants that easement, I can't build anything on it or plant anything, then the town will have to be responsible for any erosion.
Mhm.
And the town agreed to that.
and that's part of what is Ben mentioned, the study that will be going on, because we do have, as a Conservation Commission, have some concerns about the way that the bridge is rebuilt may affect erosion downstream of the
Mhm.
bridge as well. And there is serious erosion,
Mhm.
even with the old bridge, but that's what that
Yes.
study is going to take a look at, is how do we address those issues?
Mhm.
Because the floods are bigger and they're more frequent now.
Yes.
Can I ask you this, if the town agreed, would you be willing to put the trees in that you want? Or you're just not putting in trees because you've agreed not to put any trees in?
We're not planting trees because our understanding was the town was going to do it. Or the town had contracted with the bridge builder to do it as part of the contract, which was my initial assumption.
I think we need some clarification from the town too, because this is a surprise, at least to me. I don't know about the other
Mhm.
members, but, but that was
Yeah,
a
it was
con- that
surprising
was
to
a-
me too, because I thought it was part of the project.
that- we were never even consulted when that whole plan was put together, to my
Mhm.
knowledge.
Mhm.
That's why I'm a little
Yeah.
surprised that
Yeah.
Burr has bounced it back to us.
The contractor took the trees down, or contracted to have them down.
Yeah,
So my assumption was that he'd be responsible for putting them back.
Because we had questions with Burr a little bit about, after we saw how the bridge was built, whether it might increase erosion, and we were a little surprised, so.
Well,
Because of the wider wing walls.
The way that, well, is not clear, and this is what the study will help determine, but they built the bottom abutment so that it's gonna funnel water faster
Mhm.
through before it comes out on the other side.
right.
That is gonna change. I mean, that whole bank on River Right, or the right-hand side as you're looking down there, is definitely eroding, and that's in part because of the big storms. But the bridge abutment, the way that it is reconstructed, is different than the old one. And it's not clear, and that's what this study will help us understand, whether it might actually increase erosion downstream.
I'm surprised that he didn't tell you, because when I first met with him, he told me that part of the project's goal was to have more flow
Mhm.
under the bridge.
Mhm.
Well, I think it does. I think it has more flow.
Mhm.
Why
It's just
would-
that one of those walls is
Mhm.
angled towards where we have the largest erosion.
Mhm.
And where people used to live to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's wider, it'll come through
Yeah.
slower.
But
Mm.
my
In theory.
understanding is also there was some problems in getting rid of the old concrete, and there was a slight change to what had originally planned. So that might have
Yeah,
impacted it.
Yeah, we weren't privy to all that.
yeah.
No, we lived through it. Unfortunately.
Like I say, I guess I'm not trying to interpret Burr's message, but you may have taken that we will be planting, is that was us saying that we are going to be planting on both sides of the road, but we have not been consulted about that. But I will.
On both
I'll-
sides?
Well, because we were planning on planting, or perhaps not replacing, well, we will be planting near where the porta potties are up there, where the trees were taken down, because there's
Mhm.
currently several other dying trees
Mhm.
up there that are sort of overhanging the porta potty enclosure.
Mhm.
But that is part of our larger plan. But I mean, I'll reach out to Barbara again, and I don't see it on their agenda for their meeting tomorrow.
No.
Oh, maybe we should go.
I was planning.
That's a short meeting tomorrow because
Yeah,
then they have a
short.
public hearing on 2 proposed ordinances.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so the
And
the regular meeting's at 3:30 and this public hearing is at 4, so.
And I'm doubly confused because our charge is to work with town-owned properties, not with private landowners. That's why I'm
Mhm.
doubly confused.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think Ben might be right. Burr might have, we might be reading into it too far and,
Well, I think if we're buying trees, then we can just buy them all at one time
Mhm.
and, but I don't want,
no, it's simple. I think we just take it up with the selectmen
Yeah.
and that's where it should go and
Mhm.
they'll bounce it back to us if it comes down to selecting trees and who pays for them, which shouldn't come out of our pocket, but.
right, I mean, I don't have a firm number on that, but 8 trees and planting costs would probably blow through the Wentworth Fund and exceed our annual budget.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Our annual
we don't
budget's
plant trees on
$1,500.
private, yeah, we don't typically buy and plant trees on private property either.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
wouldn't look at it that way.
Right, so I think this needs to be something that the select board needs to figure out how to pay for this, so.
Mhm.
um,
And what size what are you picturing for
We
replacement
didn't
trees?
discuss
I'm trying to remember.
the size of the tree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm assuming they were mature trees.
yes.
what are you picturing, just so we can, in our own head, what was removed? I mean, I know the property, I just don't know exactly which 8 you are.
Something that would survive in the soil because it's pretty rocky,
Yeah,
a lot of sand and rock. So it can't be this.
right.
But I'm not
Lots
expecting a
of them.
full-blown tree either.
Yeah.
That heavy equipment would have to come in.
Were those softwoods, pines, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
They were
Hemlock?
hemlocks.
I would think hemlock.
Yeah.
I think they're all.
I mean,
Are
Dick
they all
had,
hemlocks?
Dick had,
Most of them
both
were.
hemlocks.
Most of them were.
There are white
They
pine
may have
in
been.
that whole area, there's hemlocks.
They may have been maple.
most of the white pines had been cut
Mhm.
out of there, but you had hemlock.
We could probably find an old historical picture and figure it out.
Okay. Well, I'll follow up with Burr and Barbara tonight and just, they may not be able to add it to their meeting agenda for tomorrow.
Mhm.
Probably the following select board meeting, and I'll just include you in that
Okay.
email,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
I think that's all I had for Jackson Falls at the moment.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can stay.
It's gonna be a fast meeting.
Sorry to take up so much of your time.
We don't have anything else other than conservation easement reports due on the 15th.
I did not.
I did
not
mine.
get it. I did not get online though. So if you want to go back online again, I'll do it. But I have paper copies. I can scan them too. So.
It's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, but
once you
it
get
told me it told me my username or password was wrong, and I'm copy and pasting
No,
it,
it's
rewrote
under,
it.
it's under Ben's.
Do you have the paper copies?
Yeah.
I can fill it out if you
I
want.
mean, I already filled them out. I filled out the paper copy.
No, online.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just give those to me and I'll get those logged in. Or
Or you can just
fax them.
Yeah.
What I did is, when I set it up, if I recall correctly, I just set it up, you know how you can keep the username and the.
Yeah, it used to be right. I didn't have to type in anything.
Well, that, yeah, it was there when I
It
did
was
it.
auto. It's not for me.
Yeah, and it was Ben's,
Yeah.
because it's registered under Ben's name.
It's the login is
Is the
is
Jack
is town
of Jackson,
Yeah.
and the password is very simple too.
Yeah.
Night.
Good night.
I'll get it in there.
We'll get it.
Just saying, I brought paper copies just in case it was.
Who gets them?
I'm now confused about why we're not getting copied on wetlands permits. I don't want to be snooping, but there are wetlands permits in the planning board's box. And we're not getting anything. I'm a little confused as to,
Planning board guy?
I will bring that up. I'm gonna make a note of it now.
okay, I wasn't snooping.
No?
I just saw Rick Vanderpool, and I was like, oh. And it was a expedited dredge and fill permit, and
And where was it?
in the planning board's box, and
There's been a few mess ups. I never received my tax bill, as a quick example. Then all of a sudden it was
Then you don't have to pay.
Yeah, well, and then when they posted the stuff for tomorrow's, they actually had posted the wrong ordinance. And the ordinance that they had posted in E-News was that Prospect Farm was only for Jackson residents,
Yeah,
which
what was
came
that?
when. I contacted Julie and, I sent an email back Friday night. And God bless her, she got back to me Friday night, so she's obviously doing due diligence. But there's been a few confusing things that have.
Yeah.
There is
Um,
no ordinance that says that Jackson Farm. that
That's what was
Prospect Farm-
posted.
Yeah.
And if you remember back in time,
There was a proposal.
there had been a proposal,
Yeah.
which, we had to go through that.
Somebody's wish list?
Well, no, then we explained that whole thing, and we got the whole Prospect Farm Stewardship Management Plan passed by the town. But when you went back and you looked at the original wills in that, it was pretty clear that that was really potentially illegal. I
yeah.
mean, lawyers would have decided, but she was pretty clear, I want this tied in with Forest Service land. And the town has all these agreements, like the parking lot, which serves into, and that would have meant that nobody could have gone up there and even accessed the Forest Service's trails if that had gone through, but that was the history of that thing. And I think it was just somewhere buried in their files, probably from
This
years
is what the
ago,
meeting is for.
but that's what got posted.
Amazing that's even on the website. I mean,
Yeah.
They had to, connect it to an ordinance that was already on the website.
Yeah, so I guess just that ties into a new business item, is this special events permit that is being proposed, and the part that pertains to us, which I would like some clarification on, is in their definitions. For purposes of the ordinance, the following definition shall apply, and then when it comes, so it has a special event expected to draw 50 or more attendees. Then it comes down to community event, and it lists any event sponsored by the town through its municipal departments, library, etc., Jackson Grammar School. Is that any event regardless of the size, number of people?
The issue is even greater than that, Ben. If you go to the special event, it says, assembly or series that is not part of the normal course of business, okay? But then you go down, it says, this includes but is not limited to festivals, parades, races, fairs, outdoor concerts, and rallies. That would mean every race the Jackson Ski Touring ever holds. It would mean that when there's an outdoor concert at the Wildcat would fit this. It would mean that when Da Capo was playing at the Whitney Center, that's a concert.
Right.
This
Shenandoah's.
it is really weird the way that this thing is written, and it's a lawyer's dream. And then when it gets down to Jackson Grammar School, then when you scroll down to the bottom, and it talks about schools, community events. Well, since it's only referred to the Jackson Grammar School, that means that if the Bartlett Middle School was here or Kennett was here, they would not qualify as being the Jackson Grammar School. So like when Kennett can't host a race down at Whitaker Woods and they ask Jackson, can we host it up here because we don't have enough snow, we would have to say no. When UNH, which hosts their race here, it would not fit the definition of being a Jackson Grammar School, so you'd have to tell UNH you can't come unless we went through this. And
Well,
the-
yeah, that's,
and the 50 gets even worse because you take a look at like the Da Capo concert that's given there. There's 15 plus singers. You don't even know whether your audience is gonna be 20 people or 40 people that night. So you wouldn't even know, but you'd have to tell the town 60 days in advance whether you go over 50.
60 days in advance?
60 days in advance.
So what is the objective of
I
doing
don't,
this?
I think I know.
with
I think this
solving
is aimed at one thing, and I'm not gonna say, but you can all know what
Yeah.
I'm talking
It
about.
is, and that's the problem. It's aimed at one thing right now.
Yes,
Enforcement has to be even-handed across the board. You can't make exceptions for ski touring.
or the Whitney, or the
Oh,
Wildcat.
right, it has to be across the board. So I think that's where, to me, it's way too much wording, but that's where it comes from.
I
And
think
it's
you're right.
in an attempt
Yeah.
to make it enforceable. We've already been in,
Yeah.
conflict.
And Dick, I agree with you, but the way that this is written is really bizarre, because when you go back up, let's see, when you go back to the definition section, you have a contradiction here, because it says, that is not the part of normal course of business at the location. So, Wildcat has typically held concerts. Let me just give them as an example. So that would say that they're exempt. But then you go down to the last sentence. This includes but is not limited to concerts. So which is in play in the same paragraph?
Okay, you're on cusp, but I'm gonna go back to ski races, which is something ski touring does do on a
Yep.
regular basis. Why wouldn't that be included?
Until you read the last sentence. Now you don't
Yeah,
know, you don't know legally which of those two holds at that point.
Right, because it actually says races, doesn't it? Not including.
But I would like to.
It's a lawyer's dream.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
either side could be
absolutely.
saying
arguing.
you can continue to do the
But
things you
that's what
normally
it's
do.
all- that drives the whole thing is lawyers seeking Pam, but it is, I mean, it's town liabilities and enforcement. And so,
Yeah.
right, and we come up with all this verbiage, as I call it. as it's
Keeps
verbal
honest people
garbage.
honest.
I think, I mean, my perspective of this, and it doesn't matter whether it's ski touring or the Whitney Center or whether it's the Wildcat, but then you also get down to, when you scroll down further, now they're starting, all of a sudden, keep going, to the exceptions part.
Oh, that's right there.
Weddings as a seasonal permit. What does that mean? Because weddings are held here all year round. It's not seasonal.
Outdoor weddings are pretty seasonal.
But that's not what it's talking. It's saying
Right.
weddings as a seasonal permit. But then you would have to ask is, why would weddings, because I can hear the
Right.
weddings
Exactly.
over at Iron, why would they be given a free pass and other businesses in town would not?
Well, I think,
So there's a lot of
yeah,
confusion in
well,
this thing.
more germane to what our is, community events
Right.
are an exempted thing, but it says that it is required that anything through the town. So is it that we are exempted, and is an exemption that we have to file a permit, but it will be approved
And you have to
as an
pay for the
exemption?
And you have to pay for the permit.
I'm not opposed to paying for the
Yeah.
permit.
But I guess that's just in terms of planning for our events, which are low turnout and not scheduled within 60 days. So if we're planning our trail work days, we don't do that with 60 days lead up to it. So
And you have a second problem that would be true of many, doesn't matter whether it's a golf tournament, a Jackson race, is if it's really gonna be lousy weather, you would postpone it possibly to the next week. And if the select board isn't meeting by the next week, then you would be a breach and you would be subject to the penalty. Because you'd have to go back and ask for a modification to your permit.
Or you build it into the permit in the first place with a rain date.
Is there,
It's,
is there a
I just was
written,
surprised
like
how
a,
poorly this was written.
They just, what the application will, there's also a certificate of general liability that the town needs to be listed for, so if it's a town event, how, anyways, I just have
Yeah.
more questions as to how that pertains to what we're doing, and I don't,
But if you do a cleanup,
is clean, I guess that's the question,
And
is
you-
part of maintenance a regular thing?
yeah,
We regularly do maintenance, is that an out-of-the-box thing? Because it's not
Yeah.
regular, it's irregular.
and if you're a small group, I mean, like Jackson Ski Touring has to carry that liability, so that's a non-issue for, like, and I suspect most businesses
Yeah.
do as well. But when you get into a small group, like a Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or whatever, or even a smaller group, like if you're organizing a cleanup and you get 50 people to show up, you wouldn't be carrying that kind of liability.
Well, I guess there's also the question of, does the town of Jackson have, if, I guess for commercial enterprises, you need to have a permit to operate in the White Mountain National Forest.
Special use permit, correct?
Um, I'm just getting into sort of maintenance things that occur, like through ski touring, which is an irregular, you don't have on the calendar 60 days out when maintenance will occur.
No,
or
we have to go, and this doesn't matter whether it's Attitash or Jackson Ski Touring or anybody, because they all function under a special use permit. You have to come back, you have to go with your annual plan about what you're planning to do that following year, and then they say yes or no or modify or whatever the case may be. And then when you get a project that's really big, like Attitash wants to put in a new lift or Jackson wants to build a new trail, then you have to go through a sequence of environmental reviews.
I mean, I guess what I'm
Snowmobile
asking is,
clubs have to do the same thing.
if the work or the event is occurring not on town property, it's occurring in the national forest, the national forest has its own permitting process. Is this in addition to that permit requirement that you'd have to file also with the town? Because I know, like Grant Backcountry, they do file those, they work with the Forest Service. They would, I guess that answers the question, they would need to do that.
yeah,
But,
you have to have both,
um,
you're on town land.
but those events often are 5 people.
Right,
They're not,
but they could be 50.
And that's usually us.
See, the problem with the 50 is that the number is really too low, because a lot of times, I mean, I'll give a ski touring as an example. You have a race, Mountaintop has the same thing. A lot of times your people don't make a decision now whether they're gonna go or not go to 1 or 2 days in advance. So, like a race here might have 20 people signed up. 2 days before, all of a sudden, particularly if a race is canceled over here,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden we have 60 coming in with a 20, now we're 80, you're over 50. And that is true of concerts with the Whitney Center and so on and so forth. So the 50 number is, you'd run into all of these special exemptions time after time, and because of the timing that's here, you wouldn't be able to respond and still follow the law.
I guess, yeah.
If the number was like 300 or something, that's a little different, but,
Or normal course of business, which, if it's something that occurs every year,
but
but it is a seasonal activity,
But how that would be interpreted would vary depending on who's on the select board.
Yeah, well, that's the part, it seems like it's,
Yeah,
there's so much room for interpretation
Yeah,
there.
it is.
It's like, how do you say if you go on a ski area, you don't have a party every single night? That's your normal thing, like, that's regular business. I have an event every day. I'm open 90 days this year and I have an event every 90 days. Like, what do you do then?
Yeah, so.
Well, the purpose of tomorrow's is, it's
for-
a draft.
For this conversation.
That's
yeah.
correct.
So I will hopefully be available. I will try to be here at 4.
Yeah, I'll do the same. I'll try to get over to it.
And
But this has been rapidly created to close a gap that they feel they're taking advantage of. It feels that way.
so I think just anyone speaking on the behalf of the Conservation Commission, and we have questions on how this will impact how we plan our events, which are generally low turnout. And if we were to apply for a blanket permit that lasted, yeah, I don't need to get
I
into
think-
that. I just think we
we
need
would
more
be covered
clarification.
because we would be a community event and we're a municipality.
Well, that needs clarification
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it says community events need a permit and community events are exempt from a permit. So,
Right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
says both.
yeah, so,
And it refers to schools, but then it refers only to Jackson Grammar School, so that leaves the question.
Well, I think 60 days is, I mean, that's half of a season.
I have a feeling this was copied from some other town for some other purpose and then just modified as
Yeah,
my
I mean,
guess.
it's like half of a season if we have,
Ken, I should have sent this to you for the first draft.
The red pen,
You know, just for,
arrows.
Well,
Oh,
I
yes.
looked at it, my wife's on the Whitney Center, and so I was like, holy smokes, do they know what they invented here? I mean, I've seen enough legal stuff in my career that this was
Well,
surprising.
on Whitney Community Center, on that note, I reached out to Greg about programming. I guess the Conservation Commission is sponsoring some programming there this year, and I thought that we could tie it with the Apple Orchard project.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of speakers out who speak about historic New England orchards. And I thought it would be a nice thing to do that we could have at the community center. I don't know how we can time them to overlap, but I think that would be a good use of drawing people to the attention of what we're
Is
doing.
the schedule already set into March?
Uh,
I don't.
it may, I have to look at the
Yeah,
dates.
I feel like I
but-
saw it was definitely into February.
But I think in my mind, as I was kind of, I got a little excited about it, but I was thinking if the programming could happen in the fall, that could correspond with some picking and have sort of an applesauce contest or something, using finding the apples through the town at some of these orchards and,
You see a tomato contest in town.
yeah. Something like that. But I found a couple people online who regularly give presentations on this, that they work with the main, that guy,
Yeah, Bunker.
yeah.
You know who might be a good person as well is Steve Rackett. You remember Steve?
Yeah, and he was doing the orchard up there.
And, I mean, because Jackson owns those whole apple things, but he went and cleared out all the invasives and freed them up. And he might be a good person just to describe what he did there.
Yeah, and I think
He had some
also,
volunteers, yeah.
well, I mean, he's also on the Bartlett Conservation
right.
Commission too, so if we can bring in some other people and get a wider audience for that, I'd be excited about that.
Because if you've gone through where the airport is, it's really
Oh, yeah.
remarkably
Yeah.
improved what they did on that property.
And then also just maybe getting someone to come in and talk about building site erosion or
Mhm.
erosion control practices, just have an evening like that, so. And Greg is very open to that, so I think we have a good,
Okay,
so you can keep your eyes out for someone who,
well, I'm sure Michael would be, I think he'd be into that as well.
okay.
He's so passionate about old orchards.
It's over in Maine.
What?
Old Orchard. Sorry.
Yeah.
Crafty Dick. Couldn't pass it up.
I'm in the other one, but I mean, when I was working on the prospect management plan, it's just the history of the old farms up at Prospect. But I could only find shallow information about them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one, the Johnson Farm, which is up near where the Orchard Trail takes off,
Mhm.
has probably the most descriptive, but then, of course, then you have the, well, there's 6 different cell holes up
Mm-hmm.
on that property, but I scoured trying to find, other than 2 or 3, I mean, Alice Pepper, I think
Yeah.
in her books had a little bit of information,
Yeah.
but I couldn't really find a lot more.
What is the name of the person who had, you said prepared the NRI?
Whitley Frost? Is that what we're talking about?
I did look up Whitley's study on the resource inventory.
Mm-hmm.
It's, my assessment would be, is it's not close to what we need, and it's outdated. But it was, the stuff, and I could only find part of it, but I think it was the heart of it. And I remember when Whitley was working on this, but it's defining where the conservation lands were, et cetera, in the town. But it's not a natural resource inventory. And number 2 is she did that before, like, Fish and Game did all of the wildlife mapping and all that sort of stuff. So if you're doing a resource inventory, what she did then was great, but I don't think it's close to what you need. In part because there's so much better information out than she had available when she did that study.
Okay, but I might reach out to, I spoke to a couple of environmental engineers and firms that were at the NAC conference, and that's what they specialize in preparing for towns, so, and just kind of get a ballpark of what that cost would be.
My guess is you're probably at least 30, 40, 50,000 with a commercial firm.
Didn't we get some of that done with the Walker and Prospect? Didn't he go out there and like do an inventory?
Well, he did just
Well,
Prospect.
You do, I think we're talking about objectives for this year. There's a bunch of data that now you can download from the state GIS system. You've got the wildlife maps.
Yep.
You have the in-depth studies that you just mentioned with Prospect. You do have the in-depth studies that were done on like the Dundee Forest properties because that was done. And some of the Forest Service lands have moderately decent inventories on them.
Mm-hmm.
When you get over onto the private stuff, some of that is mapped out because it's all satellite imagery. It's not ground truth, relative to wildlife corridors and so on and so forth. But that information is now readily accessible.
It's the aggregation part, though, so.
It's a patch.
Yeah, I mean, I can work on some of that, but in answer to your question, typically a firm like that is probably gonna cost, and I'm just guessing, but I would not be surprised to see, and they'll ask you, what do you want? Do you want a quick paper thing, or do you want any ground surveys? And the minute you get into that, you're talking real significant dollars for the commercial firm.
Well, I'll review just what I know of Eaton's NRI, and because all of that is online, I'll send that link out. And I know that they have that. A lot of it is that that state GIS information. So if that's sufficient to meet the needs, I think that's a good start.
And some like your soils maps, et cetera,
Yeah.
are, you know, when the soils maps were made in the state, if it was agricultural land, it was typically a higher density. When you look at the soils, the density of data that was collected for non-ag lands, like here in a lot of Jackson, those maps are pretty crude. I mean, they're low resolution. But you can get those, you can download them, you can put them in a GIS system.
Okay. That's all I have for tonight. Does anyone else have anything?
I'm just gonna say, I agree with the problems with the words of the zoning ordinance proposals, but come in with some ideas of what would work. I mean, I listened to everything that was no good about it. Try to think of some things that will make it better or make it more workable to go to that meeting tomorrow. I guess I have to go to it. No.
I struggle with that because I agree with you. And this is just my take on it, but it's focused at one thing. And I don't know how to deal with that one thing. And I don't want to be the person writing that one thing. So that's the challenge with what you have out there. I wish I could give you a better answer because I think
Yeah.
that's proper, but I struggle with what is that.
No, I think that is the struggle
Yeah.
with it. I mean,
It should
Yeah,
have
my
to- it has-
question
should have
is,
to stick with the objective.
What's the thing?
That's,
Like in a literal, like I don't understand what, going through that, I don't know, like what's the problem we're trying to solve? I mean, I can think of them on my own, things, I've lived here for 30 plus years, I know the things that I think could fit in that, but what exactly are we trying to solve and what things do we feel are exempt from that?
I think we can all sit here and probably describe what we think it is, but that's dangerous because we could be wrong.
Right,
My
and
guess
to
is
what
we're
degree
probably-
of it is wrong and what degree of it's right, and that's, I just don't.
And there is an element out there of is kind of like, you know, if you live next to a ski area, you're gonna have to expect, making noise and those kinds of things. It's just like if you live next to a farm and you don't wanna smell manure, you probably shouldn't buy a
Yeah.
property next to a
Well,
farm.
Yeah, a perfect example. What about the people who live in the village here and now have a town garage that's closer to them and, I mean, you're picking up the sounds of the town garage. Does that have noise requirements and beep for this because you live within it? I mean, at some point.
Those are exempt because the noise ordinance has those in there.
Right, but you know what I mean? It just gets to a point, like, which one are we after? And if that's the one, like, someone else might say, like, well, I'm sick of hearing this. And,
But this is a hospitality town
yeah,
with the hotels, the ski areas, and they can't survive without events. And they pay our taxes, and it's like, you have to be careful what you, I'm just giving you my take, but,
The one thing it does.
that's the
address-
business of this town.
Yeah.
The one thing it does address is the trash that was left after one of the events in the park down there. We had, was it Greg who came in and was complaining about that? So if you had arts in the park or I think it's the fireworks
It
or
was the
something like that.
fireworks.
Yeah.
it was the
That-
fireworks.
They
Yeah.
get the permission, they have to clean it up. That would actually, that would be something that would be worthwhile. So what are the things that people are trying to address, like you said?
I think it's certain events that make a lot of noise.
yeah, I mean, how does this stop it, though?
Well,
I mean, if
an accountability mechanism, but it's
I mean,
Time when they have to clean it up.
right, I mean, if you have if you can apply for the permit and then you can do the thing that people are sick of people doing, is that, that's the part, I just
Or
don't
is it
understand.
they're gonna say that, you can't be that loud, you can't be
Right.
that,
Or they say you can't do that thing
Yeah.
60 days from now because
it's gonna be. too
we're gonna
loud.
tell you you can't. I mean, is that why you're doing it? I just,
Well-
It's an anti-business ordinance, and I don't think I don't think
Yeah, I
that's
get that.
understood.
it is, if you have an event needed and you anticipate more than 50 people, you need to have porta potties and,
Place and. dumpsters?
Well, yes, and security, I mean, if you can have alcohol out there, you gotta have some kind of oversight. I think that's where the seasonal wedding things, because the tents get put up for the season to hold wedding.
I can hear them every Saturday night from my house.
Yeah.
And, you know, quite frankly, I sort of sit here and say to myself is, you know, these hotels, et cetera, we all just took a look at our recent tax bills. They have to do that kind of stuff to stay in business. And I live here and you know, it's
Yeah.
like living next to a farm and smelling manure. Or you live next to a thing that's gonna have events.
Right. I get to attend some of them.
But-
Doesn't mean I
but
like
don't
it.
build
Yeah, they shut it
I've
down
been
at
there.
10:30.
Yeah,
It's not bad, they shut it down at 10:30, so
But-
it's not going on all night.
but this thing is just so far in the extreme is the problem. If you said 200 or 300, I can understand that, because now you're talking about, but 50 is a pretty small group.
Yeah. that's
And it's hard to judge in many cases whether you're gonna be above 50 or below 50, because there's so many variables.
true. Well, especially if what you're doing has 15 staff people to even accommodate, like volunteers just to like have the day, and you're like, whoa.
My wife's on the board of the Mountaintop, and they will have concerts, and you go look 2 days in advance, and they might have 20 out of 200 seats sold, and that night you'll go in there, and there'll be 150, 200 people there,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't know until when it, that is
That's
the whole norm of that business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a whole north of the valley.
yeah.
Yeah, all right, well, I think we would like more clarification there. If there's, no one has anything else, is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn this.
Ben, you did have on here, not to prolong, but for 2026 goals,
Yeah?
and I just tried to sketch out real quick, and I think some of this is a follow-up from the meeting that I did.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you were not at last month's
Yeah.
meeting, so,
Um,
thank you.
But what I had here is to complete the natural resources inventory for the master plan, which I think was yours.
Yeah.
Once we get the hydrology study for Jackson Falls, to try to complete the Jackson Falls management plan, because we'll have to build a budget from that. Prospect Farm, the apple orchard, conservation easements and the water quality, which is a continuation of, you know, ongoing stuff. And trying as best we can to maintain the Jackson Falls.
Yeah, and I think the other one was having a presence at the Whitney Center.
Yeah. And it's a question of whether we want to put this on or not, is whether we really want to try to see whether Lions is interested in,
I think that's worth putting on there. Maybe just acquisition of land.
yeah. And that's a full agenda.
Yeah, okay.
Double head, double
Yeah,
toe.
the thing to do to stay warm.
Oh, I worked that side.
All right, thank you for that.
This
Hey,
morning
can you
was
just,
like,
anything at the Whitney Center, we just need to cap it at 49 people, right?
Yep.
And we're all set.
We're all set.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. I got moved into work and
oh,
trying to keep it good.
All right, thank you, everyone. Happy New Year's.
Whose
Thank
house?
you, same to you.
You need the electrical?
Yeah,
No.
I told him, but I told him, so look, John, if I want to sit down, I'm going to sit down.